Hey guys, Claire here with Clarity Nutrition. I'm here today to talk to you about undereating, why it's important to not undereat, what are some signs that you may currently be underfeeding yourself, and how to actually come out of that chronic cycle of undereating, underdieting, not eating enough, and eating more food without gaining weight, without feeling disgusting and gross, and also just to start living a little bit more happy, successful, and more sustainable life, because that is the end goal, in my opinion. So undereating is one of those things that I see with so many individuals. Almost every client, especially females, come to me in a very, very, very underfed state. You know, I've had people give me a food log as low as 500 calories per day, and that is just simply not enough. And that's an extreme, but I'm just saying that because it is proof that it happens. And the reason is because society has really taught us our entire lives to not eat enough food. We're based on a 2,000 calorie diet. Everyone is supposed to eat 2,000 calories. But for women, we're kind of taught to not eat enough. 2,000 is kind of too much. We need to go a little bit lower. We've got people like J-Lo or Beyonce, throwing out diets that they're doing to get ready for some show. And it basically is just one big starve fest. They're eliminating all carbs for 10 days and only drinking water. And they're eliminating protein and everything that is sustainable in a diet. They're removing it, and join them, and they look incredible. And so we believe them. And if they're doing it, if it works for them, then it must work for us too. And this chronic cycle of dieting has been perpetuating since, we were children. It's very relevant and prevalent in our movies and the TV shows that we watch and the people that we look up to. And there's not a lot of people out in the space or in like the popular world preaching, just start eating enough food. That's why I do love celebrities that, are very adamant about their lifestyle that is way more sustainable. Like Jennifer Lawrence in the Hunger Games, she's one of those individuals that she'll never chronically diet or change her body for a specific part. She will just do what she feels she needs to do that's best for her body. And that's the people that we should really be looking up to. For males, 2,000 calories is a little bit low. Most guys should probably be eating a little bit more than that. So for guy standards, it's not necessarily like society telling them what to do and what not to do in terms of like role models and stuff like that. There definitely is a lot of that still prevalent among males, but it's some of just like our current models of 2,000 calories for everyone really is not appropriate for males because they should be eating a lot more. So it puts them kind of in that underfed state just because that's what they think we should be eating and that's what they eat, and then find out that it's generally not enough. The reason for undereating and underdieting, why it's so bad, is because it causes your body to down-regulate. There's a ton of implications when you are underfed. You probably have a little bit less energy, your sleep is garbage, your gym performance is terrible, you're unable to build muscle, you're maybe not likely to lose weight, or you gain weight. I have had people that go into such an underfed state that their body just is chronically stressed and puts on weight from just chronic inflammation. And so when you start eating enough, your body starts bringing down that stress and we start to see weight come off. So there's a ton of benefits for coming out of that underfed state. And by underfed, what does that exactly mean? The red flag for me is when I see individuals that are eating less than their basal metabolic rate. It's your BMR. It is the basic rate that your body should be working at to just exist at rest. So basal is just basic, like no activity, it's just existing, nothing special about it. And then your metabolic rate is just basically your metabolism. And this is based off of your age, weight, and height. So I'm a 150-pound female, 25 years old, and I'm about 5'5". For me, my BMR is about 1,500 calories. Between 14 to 1,500 is pretty common for most females. Most males tends to fall under like 1,800 to 1,900 calories. For me, the red flag is when people are eating under their BMR. The reason is because your BMR is just how much your body burns, how many calories your body burns at rest. This isn't factoring in the times of the day that you talk or walk or work. And then we're also factoring in working out. Your body expends a ton of energy on top of just existing at rest. And most of us aren't eating enough to even fuel our body's natural functions. And what this ends up doing is it slows your metabolism down, because your body doesn't like to die. Your body wants to live and get through the day. It doesn't want to shed weight. So what it'll do is it'll prioritize the essential bodily processes that you need for survival. This is going to be like digestion. It's going to be pumping your heart, getting blood throughout your entire body, or your lungs and your liver, your kidneys working. It's going to downregulate the processes that aren't necessarily the most important. It may slow digestion. You're still going to be digesting food, obviously, but it may not be doing it effectively. It's going to slow down your reproductive health. And, yes, for most individuals, until you get to that point, you don't want to have any issues, don't want to get pregnant or anything like that. So you may not think that it's a huge deal, but it's really tying into hormone health. And you want to have good hormones, because if your hormones are out of whack, for you're a male or a female, it's going to make life a lot harder. For females, you're going to have bad PMS symptoms. You may not even be having a period. For guys, you're going to be, it also could lead to issues later on when you do want to get pregnant. If you've chronically underfed yourself, your hormones are not functioning super well. They're not in the best state to help you get pregnant and then have a healthy pregnancy, and so on and so on. For males, poor hormone health leads to things like sex drive or poor body composition. When guys are underfed, we tend to see a drop in testosterone, but a rise in estrogen. This leads to what's called as estrogen dominance, and it's going to happen both in males and in females. And for males, with guys with estrogen dominance, it leads to weight gain. It leads to undesired weight gain or fat buildup in undesired areas. So it's where we kind of see a little bit curvier of a hip kind of shape, kind of like pear shape. It also leads to like man boob kind of that look, and that is something that's very undesired in men. And that's usually a sign of estrogen dominance. And estrogen dominance can be caused by a number of factors, but stress and undereating is one of those factors that does cause it. So it's incredibly crucial to be eating enough food to avoid these kind of negative side effects of undereating. So to determine your BMR, all you have to do is go online, just type in BMR calculator, plug in everything, it'll give you your basal metabolic rate. And again, this is the rate that your body burns fuel and uses fuel to exist. And if you are under eating, and if you are eating less than that, that is a huge red flag. So let's take me as an individual. If my BMR is 1,400 calories, that is just existing without doing all of the stuff that I'm doing right now: exercising, running a business, talking, eating, you name it, going to the beach, hanging out, laughing, doing anything that isn't just bodily functions. That is extra fuel. So I should be eating 1,400 calories and then some. If I'm eating 1,200 calories, my body has to slow things down. It's also going to create stress, and then I'm unable to really be at my full potential. So the first step is getting people past that BMR number. And to determine that, download the nutrition guide that I have released. It is on my website, and it just teaches you how to set up every single thing, your maintenance caloric intake. And the reasons that you do want to eat more, in addition to just overall health, is when you eat more, you're able to do more because you're actually fueling your body. You're going to feel a lot better. I was eating below my basal metabolic rate for a really long time, and I felt like garbage. I couldn't sleep. I was waking up many times in the night to either just, I was wired, I would have to pee, I just didn't get good rest, I couldn't sleep past 6 a.m., which still doesn't really happen much, but that's just because I've been doing it for so long. I felt like garbage in the gym. I was injured a ton. And that was a huge thing. When I started to kind of reevaluate, I was doing way more than my body was letting me do because I wasn't fueling myself for it. So when you aren't fueling yourself, you don't have enough glycogen to fuel yourself for certain activities. So I was doing CrossFit, and when things really started to go downhill for me, I was starting to do two sessions in a day. And I didn't increase my intake any from that 12 to 1300 caloric intake, and I was doing even more. And so my body, pretty early on and throughout the day would just go through my glycogen, but I wasn't really replenishing it at the rate that I was expending it. And so what happened is my body then started to go into my muscle glycogen and taking glycogen from my muscles. What that did is it basically damaged my muscles. So then my body had to go in and repair the muscle. But again, I wasn't really fueling it that much, so it took a long time, and it would always just be one muscle injury after the other. I think I had a shoulder injury, then my back started locking up, I had some calf pain, and then the final straw was I was so chronically stressed and inflamed, I was pulling a lot of the muscles on the bottom of my foot, and I was having trouble just like walking. And that's when I kind of was enough is enough. So I wanted to perform better at the gym, and I wanted to feel good. I didn't want to limp and hobble around. And so I started eating more food, and all of these injuries just started magically disappearing. And that was when I kind of put the two and two together. All of this is great, and I do have a lot of trouble with sometimes increasing people to a certain number of food, to a certain calorie intake. And it's not super important to be at 100% the right number of maintenance calories. So for me, my maintenance is around 2,500 calories. Say I was just a typical client, I was eating like 1,400 calories, and I was just miserable reversing up to 2,500. And I got to 1,900. I'm like, I feel good. I feel better than I did before. I'm good at 1,900 calories. That's it. The reason you may not want to stop at that 1,900 calorie mark or 1,800 calories is because you're not setting yourself up for success in any sort of diet phase. So when you're going into a cut, when you're about to diet, you're going to have to restrict your calories. And to lose 1 pound of fat, you need to be in a 3,500 weekly caloric deficit. 1 pound of fat is of roughly 3,500 calories. And so when I set up someone for a cut, that's about, for 7 days a week, that is about 500 calories of a deficit per day to lose 1 pound of fat. I don't always start immediately there because I want to find the most minimal effective dose. So if I'm able to take someone, put them in a 300 calorie deficit, I will start there, see how they respond, and then I can further go into that deficit if that is something that needs to be done. But let's take me 1,800 calories. Say I didn't want to get up to 2,500. I'm just going to stick at 18 because I feel really good there. I feel better than I was at 14. Well, now if I want to go on a 500 calorie deficit per day, I'm now back at eating 1,300 calories. My basal metabolic rate is 1,400, 18 to 1,300, and that's something that is unsustainable. I'm miserable. All those injuries come back. I'm not going to adhere to that diet a lot better. Instead, what I should have done, and what I personally have done with myself and what I do with most of my clients, is I bring awareness for one, and I make sure that we reverse them up to an intake that is high enough to reset their maintenance and their metabolism, bring everything back up so that when we go into a diet, it is something that is actually something you can adhere to. It lets you keep things in the picture. So let's take me for example. I spent a whole year, I reversed from 17 to 1,800 calories. I reversed myself all the way up to 2,600 calories. Kind of went in a little bit of surplus, again, because I knew I was going to go into a diet. There was a little bit of weight gain with that, lost a little bit of my body composition, but I was feeling so much better. I didn't have any injuries. I was really focusing on my gym performance, getting through the day, everything like that, and I was feeling really good. I'm now going through a cut. I'm in a 900 calorie deficit. I do have 3 days of a refeed, so it's not a true 900 calorie deficit, but I am in a 900 calorie deficit eating 1,800 to 1,900 calories of food because I was at 2,700. I am now at 1,800. That is a 900 calorie deficit. I am still 400 calories above my basal metabolic rate. And I am 500 calories more than where I had been if I was going to just do a simple 500 calorie deficit. So one of the biggest things about stopping this chronic cycle of underfeeding is that if you ever want to diet, you really get to set yourself up for even more success. So I would recommend taking that time, adding in food so that you're able to just diet way more successfully. I have been way more successful on this cut than ever because I'm eating something that is very feasible, and it's something that, yes, I am hungry because my maintenance is 2,500 calories, but I am still eating more than what my body needs. So all of my bodily processes, my gut function, my gut health, my reproductive health, my everything is completely healthy. It's working fine, and I am still able to lose weight. And so that is one of the biggest reasons that you would want to add calories in. I get a lot of people that get to that 2,000 calorie mark and they're like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm bored. I want to lose weight. And then I've had it before. I'm like, okay. And they're pretty adamant. They're like, nope, I'm paying you to help me lose weight. We're not losing weight. I want to do it now. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. And I will put them in a deficit to get them to lose weight. And within 2 weeks, they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm miserable. They had just taken those 2 weeks to get up to a higher intake, reset it. Maybe it would take a month longer. Then we would be at like 2,400 calories. And then they're dieting at 1,900 calories. And they're like, oh, this is so much easier. Or we could take it a little bit further, go to 1,700 calories. Still a sustainable number. They're still able to be healthy. And that is the biggest take home from this, to convince you to eat a little bit more food, is you're just going to set yourself up for success when you eat more food and you plan for the future. If you look ahead, and this is what my job is as a coach, I have a client that is like, I just want to get to some healthy intake, I don't want to lose weight, I feel really good where I'm at, I just want to eat a little bit more food, then I'll just be like, all right, let's go to where you feel comfortable. I'm not going to push the limits there. Like, I'll get them to like 2,000 calories, and if they're like, I feel really good, I'm really happy, and technically they should be at like 2,200 calories, I'll be like, all right, let's call it. You feel really good. Let's make sure everything's in check. I'm not going to force them to go a lot higher. But if they were like, I do want to go into a cut, I would convince them. I would try to get them as close to 2,200 calories as possible. So when you are someone that is starting to work with either myself or another coach and you're eating 1,200 calories, there's nothing that a smart, ethical, good coach can do, because you're eating 1,200 calories. The only way to lose weight is go sub 1,000 calories. And I will never do that to a client or to a human being, because it is going to set yourself up for hormonal damage, metabolic damage, potential eating disorders. It's not a healthy, sustainable approach to any sort of diet. So that being said, how do you come out of that chronically underfed state? What do you do? Answer is a reverse diet. Reverse dieting, it's kind of over talked about in my opinion in this space. It is incredibly crucial. I find that not everyone needs a reverse diet. It really is a case-by-case basis. But a reverse diet is simply just reversing out of a diet. It's something that I do with any client, or that one should do with anyone who goes in a deficit. So anyone who has dieted, we basically like reset your metabolism a little bit lower. So again, let's take me. I was at 2,600 calories. I'm now at 1,800. Say the cut ended tomorrow. I would not go all the way up to 2,600 calories overnight. My body is not used to that yet. And it would probably lead to some weight gain. I would be miserable. Like if I took on a new client who has never eaten 2,500 calories, they've only ever eaten 1,500, and I said, eat 2,500 calories tomorrow, their stomachs probably wouldn't allow it because there's not enough room. Mentally, they'll just feel like they're gorging themselves. That's probably gonna lead to some bloat. I would overload their gut system. If they have any sort of overgrowth, I could tip that over the edge. Not something we want to do. Lead to lethargy, everything like that. So instead, when we have someone coming out of a diet, we don't want to just basically ruin all of the success that we achieved. So what we do is we do weekly, slow, small additions of food. So I'm at 1,800 calories. Most of that cut is coming from, or all of the cut in calories is coming from fats and carbs. I would just slowly add 5 to 10 grams of carbs or fats weekly or bi-weekly. It really depends on the person. Say I'm, really, really done. I'm close to binging and I'm like, I am done. What I would do is I would recognize that mental state and I would do a little bit quicker additions just to get that client or myself up to a higher intake so it feels like they're out of that diet, they're doing a little bit better, and then I would slow that process down. If someone's like, I'm ready to go, whatever, I'll just make equal weekly additions. If someone's very resistant, like I'm not ready to come out of a cut, I will do slow additions. If they're scared of weight gain, very, very slow additions. Maybe I'm just doing 5 grams of carbs one week, 5 grams of fats the next, 5 grams of carbs, 5 grams of fats, or I'm giving them just 2 weeks to do it, slowing that process down. It's going to take longer, but it's going to lead to less weight gain. It's going to help them mentally see adding food doesn't always mean you're going to gain weight. So that's the basic of a reverse diet with someone who's coming out of a cut. It's a completely natural process. Reverse dieting is also something that we have to do with people who are under eating. So if I take that 1,200 calorie individual, then I need to get them up to a higher intake. I can't do it overnight. They would fire me within a second, and they rightfully should. They probably would have a lot of weight gain. So for that individual, I will slowly add food and I will just monitor their mental process throughout the whole thing, making sure they're in check with everything, they're feeling okay, they're focusing on other wins besides weight on the scale. So when you are reverse dieting, you do have the possibility of gaining weight. And I know it's something that isn't something that everyone wants to do. Most people don't pay me to help them gain weight when they do want to lose weight. Unfortunately, if you've underfed it for so long and you add some food in, it is a possibility that you will gain weight. And carbs hold about 3 grams of water per gram of carbohydrate eaten. So you are going to hold on to a little bit more water when you do eat carbs. It's just water weight. It's not actual added fat weight, but it is something that just comes with the territory, and it's something that you should definitely be aware of. Something that typically does happen with a reverse diet, and it's one of the coolest things in my opinion, and this happened with myself, a ton of clients that I've reverse dieted, and it's a really good checks and balance way to monitor the reverse diet, is you add some food. Typically you'll see your weight go up 1 to 3 pounds. And then a couple of days later, that weight drops back down. So for me, I was at like 150 pounds, 151 type weight when I was starting my reverse diet process. And I would add 5 to 10 grams of carbs or fats, and my weight would spike to like 154. And then it would drop back down by that Monday to 151 or 150. Then I'd add a little bit more food, spike back up to 154, and then come back down. Spike back up, come back down. And this cycle definitely happened the entire time I reverse dieted. Then I got to 2,500 and I added, I think, to like 2,600 or 2,550 calories, and my weight spiked to 154, and then it didn't come down. So that's usually the sign that you've reached your maintenance, is your body and your metabolism will adjust as you add food. It'll increase, it'll ramp up, especially if you're adding protein. And that is a really good thing. But when we start to see, and that's why your weight will spike, that's just the water retention. But then once your body realizes that's good, we're all good to go, we're not going to lose that food, it'll shed that water and your body will drop back down. If it doesn't drop back down, that's a sign your body's like, nope, we're now entering that surplus and we're not going to lose that weight. We're instead going to store it as muscle or fat. That's where you do want to stop and go that one step before that weight gain that you did see. Doesn't happen for everyone. I've used this example several times in the past. I did have an individual, she was eating 200 to 400 calories per day. Every third day would have some sort of 3,000, 4,000 calorie binge because she was chronically underfeeding herself for so long that there's really nothing for her I could do. The only thing that I could do to get that process started for a reverse diet, I couldn't just take 500 calories and add 600. That's just, she was mentally done. She needed something a little bit quicker. And I also wanted to get away from these day binges. I wanted to get out of that restrict and binge cycle. So what I did with her is I made her intake just 1,200 calories every single day. Her body, unfortunately, was used to having to make 3,000 calories from that binge. Her body had to make those 3,000 calories last for those couple of 200 to 500 calorie days. So it was used to holding on that food and then getting rid of it. Holding on to that food, getting rid of it. Well, all of a sudden, every single day, she started getting 1,200 calories of food. So instead of here and then here, it was just 1,200 the entire time. Her body was used to having to hold on to all this food for days because it didn't know the next time it was going to get a good meal or a lot of food. So when I gave her that food, her body held on to it for a good while. It was probably 2 to 3 months. And in 1 week, her weight had spiked 17 pounds. It is physically impossible to gain 17 pounds in 1 week of fat. It was all inflammation and water retention. And eventually, all of that weight came off. We reversed her up to about 2,000 calories. Her weight after that 17 pound spike stayed about the same. And then once we reached that maintenance, her weight just dropped back off and she shed all of those 17 pounds and then more. We never actually had to really go into a cut because her body, once we got to that maintenance, realized, okay, we're good, we're golden, we're safe. Let's shed all that weight. And it did. She got back to that kind of reverse diet weight. And that was a really good sign that the reverse diet worked. And also how crucial it is to not underfeed yourself and some of the implications that you may have if you have dieted so long during that process. So that is essentially all I have about undereating. I could probably go on about this for hours and hours and hours, but I definitely won't bore you with that. It's definitely a hard process, especially that reverse. It's something that is really hard to do unbiased. I do recommend hiring a coach to help you through that process because they're going to be a little bit more unbiased and they're going to be able to interpret some of the signs of whether the reverse diet is or is not working. They're also going to remind you, and this is what I do with everyone, they're going to remind you of all of the great things that are happening during that reverse diet. Maybe you hop off the scale because it's not doing anything positive for your mindset. So instead, we're focusing on PRing at the gym. We're focusing on how your energy feels, how your sleep feels. I have one client right now who we didn't necessarily reverse diet, but we did get her intake up a little bit and regulated things. And she felt so good. Her weight didn't really change. She felt so good. She was PRing at the gym. She's like, I'm not ready to go into a cut. Can we just hold here? And this has happened with at least 25% of my clients because they all of a sudden feel really good and they never knew what good, quote unquote, felt like. And now they feel incredible. So they're not ready to go back into that diet phase. And that's completely fine. So we maintain for a little bit. We start to get in the right mindset to lose weight and go into a cut, but we have a little bit of more time to set ourselves up for that success. So I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions, if that you are in a place that you do need a reverse diet, please send me a message. Please let me know. You can message me on Instagram. We can talk about setting you up for a reverse diet. You can also, if you don't know your calories, your macros, or anything like that, download my nutrition guide. It's completely free and it'll go over everything, starting with your basal metabolic rate, your activity level, how many times you're working out a day, to determine what is your maintenance calories and what those would look like when you do go into a cut. You can then do a food log. This is all in that guide, and see where you're at, where you need to be, and what that discrepancy is, and what you should do moving forward. So I'll leave it at that. Have a great rest of your week, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.